వేదికను అలంకరించిన మిత్రులకు తర్వాత మీరందరికీ నమస్కారం. నేను ఇక్కడ కాలేజీలో చదువు పూర్తి చేసుకొని నా వర్కింగ్ లైఫ్ అంతా ఉత్తర భారతంలో జరిగింది. అహ్మదాబాద్ టైమ్స్ ఆఫ్ ఇండియా మొదలెట్టాను 68లో. 69లో నేను ఢిల్లీకి వెళ్ళాను. 75లో ఇంగ్లాండ్లో సండే టైమ్స్ అక్కడ ఒక స్కాలర్షిప్ మీద పోయి అక్కడ పనిచేశాను. 78లో బాస్టన్ యునైటెడ్ స్టేట్స్లో పనిచేశాను. ఢిల్లీ బేసికలీ నా బేస్ ఉండే, అక్కడనే ఉంటున్నాను. హైదరాబాద్లో ఎప్పుడూ పనిచేసే అవకాశం నాకు దొరకలేదు. అయినా కూడా the love and affection people at large and journalist community in particular show towards me overwhelms me, and I am grateful for that. I am not really used to talking about myself because that would be seen as immodest, so I am more comfortable discussing my life with all of you. Murthy garu has known me for a long time, Narayan garu kudanu, so let them ask me some questions and then I'll respond to them. I think that is a better way of telling you something about my life and sharing my experiences. So may I now request Murthy garu and Narayan garu to shoot questions at me, and I'll tell you my life story by answering those questions. Thank you.
How did you become a journalist? Who inspired you?
It all began in my village, Kamalapuram. I was a student in Jilla Parishad High School. I was in class 9 or I don't remember now. I used to write letters to the editor of newspapers, Andhra Jyoti and Andhra Bhumi. I used to buy a postcard for half an hour, 1 hour, I don't remember, and scribble, some complaint saying that in my village the post office is not functioning properly, or the police station does not exist. It's a village of 10,000 people and we need security, so we demand that a police station should be installed there, or the post office is not big enough, or a bus which normally should stop at the bus stand does not stop. It goes and stops 200 meters away from that. So elderly people, children have a problem running and catching the bus. All, small issues that affect people in villages. I used to write letters to the editor, and 3-4 days later, those letters used to appear in the newspaper. Then a school magazine was started in my village school called Gautami. Then they were looking for an editor and they announced an essay writing competition, and whoever writes the best essay would be made the editor. So then when they held a race, that is the story. Please. I didn't get it.
Top leader.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, experiences. It's very fascinating. Some of the people I interviewed include Indira Gandhi, Rajiv Gandhi, P.V. Narasimha Rao, Inder Gujral, Morarji Desai, Vajpayee, V.P. Singh, of course, and in Sri Lanka, Jayawardena, Chandrika, Ranil Wickremesinghe, in Pakistan, General Ziaul Haq and Benazir Bhutto, and more people than now I can recall readily. But I find Indira Gandhi was the most interesting person I interacted with. It happened in Telangana. In fact, in Medak, See what happened after Indira Gandhi refused to support Charan Singh on the day Parliament was to meet, and when he had to prove his majority, she sent CM Stephen to withdraw support to the government, and that's how Charan Singh had to resign as the Prime Minister without facing Parliament. So Sanjay Reddy announced elections. So then I sent word to Mrs. Gandhi's office saying that if she's going on election campaign, I would like to go with her to write an article about her campaigning style and all that. At that point of time, Indira Gandhi's relations with India Today, I was in India Today at that time, were not very good. They wrote nasty stuff about Sanjay Gandhi and all those things. And but it so happened that when I proposed this to somebody who was helping her with press relations, I forget that guy's name. He used to edit Dinman, which is a Hindi magazine published by the Times of India Group. So he said, Mrs. Gandhi she doesn't care much for India Today because they have been very nasty to her son and all that. So then I said, well, I have just joined India Today, I have nothing to do with it. But I did cover Mrs. Gandhi when she came to Bombay when I was editing the Onlooker magazine. She came on a campaign trip. So I went in a car from Bombay up to Pune, where she stopped in different cities and made speeches and all that, and she came back. Even at that point of time, at the height of the Shah Commission hearings, there were huge numbers of people who flocked to see what she looks like. When we were driving back from Pune, it already became dark, but people were wanting to see her. There were no mobile phones at that time, no lights or anything. Somebody had a tube light which was switched on in the jeep in which Mrs. Gandhi was travelling. And I was following in a car behind her so that people can see her face. And people standing on either side of the road, they would watch her and clap and that kind of stuff. So I said, my God, even at the height of the Shah Commission hearings, the newspapers every day ran stories about her misdeeds or what Sanjay Gandhi did, whatever, but it didn't seem to matter to the people at large. Then I wrote a cover story in Onlooker magazine. Somebody sent me a photograph of Indira Gandhi, making a speech like this. I put that on the cover, and the headline was, I shall come back. So that cover magazine, somebody from Bombay went and showed it to Mrs. Gandhi and said, who has written the article? I said, somebody called Mr. Narayan, we don't know anything about him. I said, okay. So that copy of the magazine was with me when I went to meet the editor, the PR man of Mrs. Gandhi. And then he took it and showed it to Mrs. Gandhi, and she suddenly remembered somebody 2 years ago brought and showed that. She said, okay, he can come. So then I went with Mrs. Gandhi. We spent about a week traveling all over the country. Incidentally, that was a plane owned by a Telugu businessman. Even today I don't know his name. But he gave it to her and said, Madam, you use it for your campaign purposes, and after the campaign is over, you give it back to me or something like that. So we began in several places, including V.C. Shukla's constituency, then Vasant Sate's constituency, Nagpur, and then we entered Andhra Pradesh and we went to Medak. In Medak, she was filing for her nomination. That year she contested from two constituencies, Medak and another constituency, I don't remember, I think it was Raebareli, our old constituency. Chikmagalur is earlier, earlier Chikmagalur, not that time. So then it was in Medak. Mrs. Gandhi and Channa Reddy, P.V. Narasimha Rao, Shiv Shankar, Nedrumala Janardhan Reddy. Yeah, they were traveling with her in the same jeep. And the jeep was driving to the collector's office, and I was given a jeep. There were some local journalists with cameras, and I had a camera which I had bought in London when I was there in 1975. I was taking pictures, and one fellow suddenly got up from my car. Indira Gandhi Zindabad. I said, hello, who the hell are you? He said, Anna, నీ బంచ నీ కాళ్ళు మొక్కుతున్నాయి, నన్ను వెళ్ళగొట్టుకోండి. ఎవడరా నువ్వు అని అంటే, నా పేరు హనుమంతరావు, చెన్నారెడ్డికి నాకు ఇష్టం లేదు, అందుకనే ఇందిరాగాంధీ నన్ను చూడాలని ఇదో గొడవ చేస్తున్నారు. Anyway, so then we went to the collector's office. Then we were waiting for Mrs. Gandhi. You know, she was taken to some other place to freshen up and then come to the collector's office to file the nomination. Suddenly somebody comes running on a motorcycle and said, you know, Mrs. Gandhi is saying, I had some journalists coming from Delhi. Where are they? You get them here. Otherwise I won't have lunch. మీరు ఎవరన్నా వచ్చారనంటే అవునంటే, సార్ మీరు భోజనానికి రండి సార్, మేడం తినను అంటున్నది, అన్లెస్ యూ కమ్. I was very embarrassed and surprised. Anyway, పోయేమో వచ్చాం. That is where I met P.V. Narasimha for the first time. Nidurmalli Janardhan Reddy comes to me. So అప్పుడు ఏమైందంటే, while we were moving, Mrs. Gandhi was pointing to our jeep, and you know, I didn't know what was going on. All the Telugu politicians ఇట్లా అంటుంటారు, తలకాయలు ఇట్లా ఊపుతున్నారు. Nidurmalli Janardhan Reddy, once we got into the collector's office, he came, ఏమండి మీరు తెలుగు వారా అని అడిగాను. అవునండి. అయ్యో అమ్మగారు మమ్మల్ని కోప్పడుతున్నది, మీకు తెలియదు ఆయన తెలుగు ఆయనే. ఎట్లా తెలుస్తుందండి, నేను as I finished my education I went to the north, so I never worked in Hyderabad, so you won't know me. That's when I introduced Narasimha Rao, and till he died we have been friends. And Pradhana Mantri అయినా కూడాను, if I called up I would take my calls, and you know, it was a very wonderful working relationship. I have not finished, just so after Hyderabad Medak, then I think Mrs. Gandhi addressed a meeting here, and then we went to Chennai. We drove through Rajahmundry and Kakinada and all that, and by the time we reached Chennai, it was midnight and it was raining. In the middle of Mount Road they had a public meeting. Karunanidhi was there. She had a tie-up with the Karunanidhi elections, you know. So that night we flew back to Delhi. Then while flying I sent a message to Mrs. Gandhi, I would like to do an interview with her. It will be part of the article I'm going to write. And so I got a message saying that she's very tired and she's not in a mood to give any interviews. I said okay. Then I went back and wrote a 3-page article called Style and Stamina, and gave a graphic description of her style of doing things. If she was addressing a meeting in Telangana, she would learn from somebody, you know, what are the points she should make, what are the issues on which people would like to listen, and then how do you say vote for the hand symbol, hastam gurtuke mana votu. She would write it down on a piece of paper, and she would, after finishing speaking, hastam gurtuke mana votu, jai hind bolan mood sarla, she would make people you know, say that, repeat it after her and all that kind of stuff. So I gave a graphic description of all this. Another thing she would do was, you know, in this plane, it's a very noisy plane. So next to the pilot's cabin, they created a small cabin, like first class thing in a regular plane. And Mrs. Gandhi would sit there, take some rest, and before she boarded, got down the plane to make a speech in, let's say, Nagpur, then she will get Vasant Sate and some local politicians and discuss about what are the issues she should be speaking about in Nagpur, and then she would make the speech and say what to say in Marathi, how to say Assam Gurtuke Mana Votu, you know, that kind of that, and how before she went, she would finish visiting the washroom, and she would carry milk mixed with haldi in a bottle, and she would drink that to protect her throat, because in course of a day she would make dozens of speeches, no, in different parts of this, so that gontu bongupokodu atla anamata. So it was very interesting, and most people Didn't know all these things, So, but I wrote about all this, giving a graphic description of all this, and I ended it with one paragraph in which I said, there are only 3 examples of leaders who enjoyed the admiration of their people, but they fell foul of they became unpopular, and they came back to power. And each one of them came back to power. It took them more than 10 years. Winston Churchill, Napoleon Bonaparte, and Charles de Gaulle. But this tiny lady called Indira Gandhi is going to stage a comeback in 30 months flat, and that surely is a world record. Exclamation mark, end of the paragraph, end of the story. When that story appeared, it caused a sensation in the country. Mrs. Gandhi was campaigning in Bengal. When she came back to Calcutta on her way to fly back to Delhi, somebody took this article of mine and showed it to her. And she read it, and she asked everybody in the plane traveling with her to read it. So next morning, we were planning, we used to have an editorial meeting, we were planning the next issue. In the next issue, the opinion poll results were to be published. That was the first opinion poll to be held in the country, all over the country. And it was going to be done by Pranay Roy, Ashok Lahiri, and there, I forget, a chap who is a Parsi gentleman based in Bombay. All the 3 of them used to do opinion polls and discussions on NDTV for several years. I can't, it will come to me. Anyway, so then I get a call. My secretary comes and says, we were sitting in the editorial meeting planning what to do, what publish. And she said, there is a call for you. And I said, from where? Take a message. No, it is from Indira Gandhi's office and somebody wants to speak to him. I said, take a message, I'll return the call. So Arun Puri, who is the editor and owner, they said, oh, if it's Indira Gandhi's this thing, no, Venkat, you go and take the call. Then I picked up the phone and somebody comes on the line and I said, hello. They said, hello. My name is Yashpal Kapoor. So नाम तो सुना ही होगा आप. ऐसे भैया आपका नाम कौन सुना नहीं सुना होगा, आपके मेहरबानी से तो she was unseated in Raebareli election campaign, So I didn't say that to him at that time. So he said, इंदिरा जी ने कहा कि आपको थैंक यू बोलो. I said क्यों? नहीं अब किसी ने भी नहीं लिखा, किसी के पास इतना हिम्मत नहीं थी कि वो चुनाव में जीत के आने वाली है और आपने लिखा इतना जबरदस्त मैच जीतने वाली, इसके लिए तो दम होता है. ऐसे हो सकता है, लेकिन मैं ये भी लिख सकता था अगर मुझे ऐसा लगा कि वो हारने वाली है, she could lose, I would have written that also. He said, वो अलग बात है, लेकिन Mrs. Gandhi said, thank you, please convey my thanks to her. I said, that's very gracious of her, thank you very much. I was about to put the phone down. He said, Venkat ji, इंदिरा जी कह रहे थे कि आप उनसे मिलना चाहते थे, इंटरव्यू करना चाहते थे, लेकिन शी वॉज वेरी टायर्ड. I said, हाँ, क्या आप अभी भी इंटरव्यू करना चाहते हैं? I said, इंदिरा गांधी को कौन पत्रकार मना करेगा यार? Which journalist will say no to an interview with Indira Gandhi? He said, अब 2 घंटे में टेक्निकल एरिया पालम एयरपोर्ट आ पाएंगे कि हम कानपुर जा रहे हैं. We are going to Kanpur. Mrs. Gandhi was campaigning in that area. They took this private plane which the Telugu businessman gave. We were going to Kanpur. So you come and join us. The next morning she will go to Madhav Scindia's constituency and some other places. So on the plane, on the way, then she will give you an interview. I said, okay. Then I go and say, Arun Puri said, are we interested in interviewing Indira? He said, of course. I said, okay, get me a tape recorder. They didn't have, the Sony little tape recorders in those days. So the big tape recorder, the size of a radio in those days. So they gave it to me, and then I ring up my wife and say, send my shaving kit and whatever. And it was hectic in those days. So I never would have time to go for a haircut. So I ended up having hair like a Sai Baba, Satya Sai Baba, you know. So then we went and slept in the night in Kanpur in some PSU hostel. It was December, a guest house, and it was cold and it was full of mosquitoes and all kinds of nonsense, so we couldn't sleep the night. In the morning when I opened the shaving kit, my wife could not find the blade. You know. It was an unshaven this thing, and I used to use a brush to comb my hair because a regular comb would not do the job. She could not find that also. So my hair was like this, unshaven face. But saving grace was I had put on a suit which I had bought in London. I put that on with this huge tape recorder. I board the plane. Then after finishing in Madras, India, and some other constituency, we were flying to Chandigarh. So then one of our assistants came and said, Sabji, Madam, aapko yaad kar rahi hai. Then I go there. And then I enter the cabin and Mrs. Gandhi looks at like that with my hair and and she said, please sit. So I sit there and said, what is this in your hand? I said, this is a tape recorder. So, oh, I don't think this will work. She said. I said, why, ma'am? Okay, and if you think that I'll misquote you, I give you an undertaking, I will not misquote you. As soon as you finish talking, I'll go and scribble my notes, so you don't worry on that front. No, I was just joking. Then shoot. So my first question was, Madam, I think what I saw during your week-long travels with you, I saw that, people are with you, you're going to come back, win the election, and congratulations in advance. But what are you going to do with people who gave you a bad name during the emergency, like your own son and Vidyacharan Shukla? Mrs. Gandhi, like all parents, was very fond of her children, and she didn't like Sanjay Gandhi being teamed up with V.C. Shukla and all that, and Avida brow became like the wrinkles. Then, but she controlled her irritation and put on a smile and said, I'm not an astrologer. Election is still a few weeks ago. So let us away. So let us see what happens in the election. Then I'll see what happens. So then we landed in Delhi. Because she was a nobody at that point of time. She was. So our plane was parked way back in the technical area, and we were waiting for a ladder so that we could get down the plane. And it took 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Then Mrs. Gandhi goes to the exit and says, Yashpal, idhar aao. This fellow goes running. Haji, so bhai, ये फासला कितना है? No, what is the depth? What is the distance from here to the ground? He said, Madam, 2-3 गज तो होगा. अच्छा चलो मैं खुद के चली जाऊंगी क्योंकि लोग मेरे लिए इंतजार कर रहे हैं. जब लैडर आएगा आप लोग आ जाना. And she jumped from the plane to the ground, and she kept walking so briskly. It was amazing. None of us could believe that. Anyway, that was the story. So I waited for the ladder and my vehicle came. I went and drove straight to my office, typed the interview, went home. It was past midnight, and around 5 o'clock the bell rings. And I said, who the hell is disturbing me at this point of time? When I opened it, there was a courier from the Thomson Press in Haryana carrying the printed copy of India Today, which contains my interview with Indira Gandhi and also the results of the opinion poll you were conducted, which had predicted that Mrs. Gandhi was going to win with an absolute majority. Please.
You have such a long career. What are the best moments of your life in journalism, and worst, if it's not any, in your life? The second question is that what is the difference between modern-day journalism and the journalism of our age? And what is the message to the young journalists, With the journalism standards are falling.
Well, I would say, sorry?
Loaded questions.
Okay. Yeah, I think it was a golden era of journalism when, I was active in the profession, and nobody ever had the guts to approach me and say, why did you write this, or why don't you write this, and that kind of stuff. And I didn't know what fear meant. I did not, neither the editor Arun Puri nor anybody ever said, Venkat, don't write like this, write like this. I just wrote what I believed in, and same thing happened during the NTR thing. I don't know how many of you are aware of the fact that when Mrs. Gandhi sacked Bhavanam Venkatram and made Kotla chief minister, I said they had an absolute majority in the legislative assembly. Why is Mrs. Gandhi sacking people? Channa Reddy out, Anjaya was out, and Bhavanam, and then Kotla. So I said I want to go to Andhra and do a story, and that's how I came to Hyderabad. Then went and met a lot of people, and N.T. Ramarao had just floated his party a few months before that, maybe 6 months before I actually went, and some gentleman called Yelimanchili Shivaji, he was a politician from Guntur. I met him one of those meetings. I said I would like to meet NTR. She said, I know that gentleman, I'll take you. So then I go and to the Ramakrishna studio, and he was sitting there with a huge statue of Lord Ganesha at the back, and then I had an hour-long interview with him, taped. And I was very impressed by, his campaigning and what he wants to do for Andhra Pradesh, and he had a whole, because I think all the Hindu gods he has played in his movies, And my first exposure to an NTR film was Venkateshwara Mahatmyam in Huzurabad. Huzurabad is about 15-20 kilometers from Hyderabad, Kamalapuram. I was a student. We would hire a cycle, double savari. We would go and watch the film and sleep somewhere near Uppal railway station till they opened the gate, come home, That was my first visit. That was in 1960 or whatever, I don't know. So then I took my own photographs of NTR, gesticulating this with Ganesh ji in the background, and then I go back to Delhi, and then we had an editorial meeting. I said, Kotla is not the story. Then what? I said, NTR. So Arun Puri said, what? NTR. What is that? NTR is short term for N.T. Ramarao, Nandapurni Tarakama Ramarao. Who is he? He's a film star. He's just started a party, and he is going to defeat the Congress party and Indira Gandhi for the first time in the history of Andhra Pradesh. Then he says, Venkat, I don't know who is NTR. How do I expect my readers know about NTR? Do you want me to put this man on the cover? No, I don't think anybody will buy it. So it took me a week to persuade Arun Puri to put NTR on the cover. So I did a longish piece about NTR and how we started the party, this, and then I ended it with one paragraph saying, barring a miracle, the next chief minister of Andhra Pradesh will be a film star turned politician called Nandamori Taraka Ramarao, NTR in bracket. And when that issue appeared, that was when people outside of the non-Telugu speaking areas came to know about NTR. And then elections were held. India Today conducted an opinion poll, and India Today poll, which was conducted 3 weeks before the actual election, predicted that, yes. So, but that did not happen. Then I told Arun Puri, listen, people, N.T. Ramarao is carpet bombing, going to every village practically, and Eenadu is publishing his pictures of bathing by the well, and Neil Nethi మీద పోసుకుంటున్నాడు, రోడ్ మీద తింటున్నాడు అదంతాను. So he is winning people. Wherever he goes, people of that area will vote for him. So 3 weeks before the election, this opinion poll was held, but by then he had not covered certain parts. So when the election time comes, he would have covered everything and NTR will win the election. So people took bets with me, and then NTR won. So after NTR won, then I came to interview him. As usual, 4 o'clock, I was summoned in Hyderabad, opposite Sagar Cinema. He used to have a place, Abbotslow. Counting would start only at 10 o'clock or 8 o'clock or whatever. So my first question was, what do you have to say about this massive victory? So I took it for granted that he was going to win the election. Then he gave a reply. He was also confident he was going to win. So, but when that interview appeared, there were 200 letters saying, how is it possible even before counting began, you claimed he was going to, well, that is, but this has happened to me with VP Singh. When VP Singh was fighting elections after Rajiv Gandhi was kicked him out. So from his constituency, Fatehpur, we were driving to Allahabad. I told VP Singh, listen, when elections are held, the results come out, I believe that you are going to win the election and you will become the Prime Minister. He was looking shocked. I said, what is this wrong with this man? Even I am not sure about this, and this chap is saying. I said, listen, so I have a set of questions which are based in my belief that I am interviewing the Prime Minister of India. So you answer them as if you have become the Prime Minister, and if you do not become the Prime Minister, I will kill that interview, I will not touch it. Acha, theek hai. Then he said, then I started it. So then I transcribed the interview, sent it to all my papers, Khalij Times in Dubai and Arab News in Jeddah, the Muslim in Islamabad, the Island in Colombo. I used to do a lot of work. So I instructed them, please wait till you hear from me. If VP Singh is sworn in as the Prime Minister, only then you will publish this interview. So that's precisely what happened. I was present in the Central Hall of Parliament. Chandrasekhar proposes Devilal's name. Devilal says, no, I am withdrawing in favor of VP Singh. Then immediately after I got out of the Central Hall, I sent a message to all these papers, yes, now you can publish the interview and all that. So it was, I did a lot of other things in the neighborhood also. It happened with Benazir Bhutto and Sheikh Mujib's daughter, and in Sri Lanka also. I met the LTT leader Prabhakaran 6 times. And there's several people who said, write about your meetings with Prabhakaran, about Sri Lanka. In Sri Lanka, I write for a newspaper for more than 40 years now. And when I arrived at the Sri Lanka airport and present my passport to the immigration counter, that fellow looks at my name and, sir, welcome to Sri Lanka. We read your articles in the island and all. So it has been a very interesting kind of experience. You can't count me as among the millionaires of newspaper industry, but it has been a very satisfying life, and నాకు నేను ఒక తలవంచని వీరునిలాగా అనుకుంటాను, and I am grateful to you. Thank you.
లైబ్రరీ సైన్స్ చేశారు, డేటా బ్యాంక్ కండక్ట్ చేసేవారు అంటారు, సబ్జెక్ట్ బ్యాంక్
ఏమండి
మిసెస్ మీకు కావాల్సిన ఫైల్స్ అన్ని కూడా అరేంజ్ చేసి పెట్టేవాళ్ళు. సో దట్ మీకు బాగా స్టోరీస్ అని ఫైల్ చేయడానికి డేటా బ్యాంక్ ఉపయోగపడేది విన్నాను నేను. ఆవిడ రూల్ ఏమిటి మీ జనరల్ కెరీర్లో?
Well, people say that there is a woman behind every successful man. I would like to give credit to my wife. She used to take control, look after my library. Even today, I buy about 8 English language newspapers. I read each one of them and mark clippings. I maintain clippings on 1,000 files. once when the London Times correspondent came to visit my place and he saw my clippings library, he said, Venkat, you can publish a newspaper. You know, in those days, pre-Google era, I had information on my fingertips on any subject, and I never opened my mouth without studying a subject. If I am going to interview somebody, in those days, and then I would go to Sapro's library and read from Encyclopedia Britannica and other reference material. So if I was talking to the president of Bangladesh, he said, "Oh my God, you know so much about my country. Please come and see my country physically." You know, I would get invited like that. So she played a very important role in my life. Unfortunately, I lost her 25 years ago.
ఒకప్పుడు మనకి సిండికేటెడ్ కాలమ్స్ బాగా ఉన్నాయి ఢిల్లీలో కూర్చొని కాలమ్స్ రీజనల్ పేపర్స్లో కూడా ఇచ్చుకుంటారు టైం ఒకటి ఇప్పుడు ద చేంజ్ సినారియో రీజనల్ ఆస్పిరేషన్స్ బాగా ఉన్నాయి ఈవెన్ రెండు తెలుగు రాష్ట్రాల్లో కూడా టూ డిఫరెంట్ పర్సెప్షన్స్ ఉన్నాయి సిండికేటెడ్ కాలమిస్ట్గా మీరు ఢిల్లీలో కూర్చొని రాసేటువంటి ఒక సింగిల్ పీస్ ఉండే రిలవెన్స్ ఏమిటి రీజనల్ లాంగ్వేజ్
See, in fact, when I decided to leave India today, my wife was very concerned. My son was in school, and she said, if you leave a regular paying job, it's such a prestigious organization, you know, what about how do we run the house? Then I told her, I will leave India today only when I am absolutely sure that I bring home more money than what India today used to pay me. And she used to complain, the taxation rate was so high. I said, Indira Gandhi takes away more money from your salary than you bring me home, she used to say. So that is when I first made sure that I would syndicate my column in Swati and non-column stuff in Enadu, and then Chitralekha in Gujarati, and the Khaleej Times in Dubai, Jeddah Arab News in Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka. Then only when I had income which was more than what my take home was from India today, was my wife satisfied, and then I decided to take to full-time freelance writing. But freelance writing is not a very dependable source of income anymore. There is a time Khushwant Singh used to syndicate his columns. There was a time when Kuldeep Nair used to syndicate his column. There was a time I also used to write. But today I don't know if syndicated journalism is any beneficial or if it is working out. Language newspapers are very poor paymasters. Once Khushwant Singh told me, my column appears in 200 papers, but even 10 of them don't pay me money. if he's saying something which I thought was interesting, before I forget, I want to take the notebook, చిన్న notebook పెట్టుకున్నాడు, spiral notebook. అది జేబులో పెట్టుకోవా నువ్వు, పెన్ను జేబులో పెట్టుకో, ఇదంతా not for writing, this is only for your background. That was the thing. ఒకసారి after he became the Prime Minister, one day I rang up and everybody in his office knew me. He came on the line. ఏమంటే ఎలా నడుస్తుంది రాజా అంటే, మీరే చెప్పాలన్నాయా అంటుండే. So he never gave you the impression that he has become Prime Minister, so he's not accessible, nothing like that. You felt no difference in his behavior towards you when he was an ordinary person, when he was an MP, when he was a minister, when he was the Prime Minister, even after retirement. That was one thing amazing about the Narasimha Rao I like. Mrs. Gandhi was also, in power or out of power, she was absolutely charming. You may not like her policies, emergency, అదంతా వేరే విషయం, కానీ అది చెప్పాను కదా మెదక్లో, until we went she would not touch lunch అని, that is one. ఒకసారి ఆ ఎలక్షన్ రిజల్ట్స్ వచ్చినప్పుడు సంథింగ్ ఇంట్రెస్టింగ్ హ్యాపెండ్. The results were being announced and I get a call from Yashpal Kapoor saying that Indraji wants to see you. So then I go and there were 100 reporters waiting downstairs. She was staying in Mother Teresa Road in an MP's quarter. That Ghaffar Khan's son, అతని పేరు మర్చిపోయాను ఇప్పుడు, because she had no place to live of her own because she was not even a member of parliament kada appudu. So there were 100 journalists waiting for her to give her for her first comments after victory in the election. I'm talking about 1980 election. So when I arrived there, then I go up and somebody comes to receive me, and on the first floor there are at least 75 Congress people with Gandhi, Nehru topis waiting for Mrs. Gandhi. So I stood away in a corner away from these congressmen, and Mrs. Gandhi after 5 minutes entered the room, looks like that, and then first comes to you. I said, hello madam, congratulations, I'm very happy for you. She said, thank you. Like a child will respond when a headmistress or class teacher praises for a good performance atla. Then I said, I'm so happy madam, all the best. And I would come up. Then she would go and meet other people. That kind of, it was a remarkable kind of association. If she held a press conference, there were 500 people sitting. If you raise your hand, she would say yes, and you asked a question, and she would give the kind of reply. It would be front page story, lead story the next morning. So it was a remarkable relationship. Even though I did not care much for some of her decisions, but it is a fact that what she did in other divisions, she did a lot of credit to our country, and I'm reasonably proud of Indira Gandhi as a Prime Minister. Not discounting some of the things that were done during the emergency, I do not approve of that, but scorecard lo pedithe the pluses are more than the minuses. Management? Newspaper? No, not. My newspaper? No, India Today was being managed by Arun Puri, who is the owner, but it's a different matter that some of the things I did for the paper put the paper on a pedestal. In 1975 it started, till 79, 78, 79 he was struggling, but when I joined India Today, a few months after that elections were announced. Then opinion polls conduct was my idea. Then running the Henry Kissinger autobiography in the paper was my idea. Traveling with Mrs. Gandhi and writing about what is going to happen was my idea. Interviewing Jagjivan Ram and asking him, I said, Neelam Sanjeev Reddy did not make you the Prime Minister because you are a Harijan? He said yes. So that was again a front page story. All these things. And I go to Sri Lanka and interview Jayawardena. I said, do you think Indira Gandhi and India is bullying you? He said, yes, India is bullying me. Indira Gandhi does not know that I am a good friend of her father. I used to attend all the Congress party sessions, and that figured in the parliament. Oh, we had a gala time one day. It was wonderful. It was wonderful. I'm very happy about my life as a journalist. and proud of it. Thank you. చెప్పండి.
పొలిటికల్ పవర్ స్ట్రక్చర్స్ దగ్గరలో పోయారు కదా, ఈ గుడ్ ఆఫీసర్స్ ఉపయోగించి తెలుగు స్టేట్స్కి కానీ లేకపోతే అక్కడ కాంట్రాక్ట్ ఇప్పించడం కానీ అంటే ఈ పోస్ట్ని చూసుకుని ఏదైనా జరిగిందా? ఎన్జిఓకి ఏదైనా ఫండ్స్ ఇప్పించడం కానీ వాటర్ ప్రాజెక్ట్ కానీ ఇట్లాంటివి ఏమైనా మీకు తెలియదు ఉన్నాయా?
కూర్చోండి. Now that you asked this question, most people don't know I am from Andhra Pradesh. Neville Mother Janabhas discovered after Indira Gandhi wanted to know that I am from here. ఒకసారి ఏమైందంటే విజ్ఞాన్ భవన్లో some conference, land conference or something was happening, and there were about in big hall before the conference starts in Vigyan Bhavan. We were all standing. Mrs. Gandhi came, and Mrs. Gandhi was going like that, and అందరికి నమస్తే చేస్తూ నా దగ్గరకు వచ్చేసరికి ఒక నిమిషం ఆగింది అక్కడ. షీ ఆస్క్డ్ మీ హౌ ఆర్ యూ, హౌ ఈజ్ యువర్ ఫ్యామిలీ, అది అని. షీ స్పెంట్ మేబీ 45 seconds. That was more time than she spent with other people, you see. So when I exited and walking towards my car, one man comes running. Sir, మీరు తెలుగు వారానంటే అవునండి అంటే, మేడం మీకు బాగా పరిచయం ఉన్నట్టున్నదంటే అట్లా ఏం లేదండి, ఇట్స్ ఎ ప్రొఫెషనల్. అసలు నా పేరండి చంద్రశేఖర్ రెడ్డి, నేను దక్షిణ కాంటికల్ పేపర్ నడిపిస్తాను, రాజ్యసభ కోసం ప్రయత్నం చేస్తున్నాను, కెన్ యూ పుట్ ఇన్ ఎ వర్డ్ టు మీ? ఐ సెడ్ sorry, I don't involve myself in all this. So as a matter of policy, people with whom I have a professional relationship, once they become a minister or prime minister or something, I keep my distance. I don't go to them for anything at all. జైపాల్ రెడ్డి కూడా అదే అన్నాడు, ఏమైనా ఒక్కసారి కూడా రావు మా ఇంటికి అంటే, ఎందుకు రావాలండి నేను, ఐ డోంట్ నీడ్ ఎనీథింగ్ ఫ్రమ్ యూ, బికాస్ ఐఎమ్ హ్యాపీ బీయింగ్ ఏ జర్నలిస్ట్. My brand value may be, I don't know, maybe only in imagination. I may not have crores of rupees in my account, but I don't need the money. What the hell do I know? I'm happy. ఎవడి ముందట తల వంచకుండా గౌరవంతో గర్వంగా జీవించడమే నా జీవిత ఉద్దేశము, అంతకంటే ఇంకేమీ వద్దు. థ్యాంక్ యూ. అయ్యా లేదు, నేను తెలుగు విత్ గ్రేట్ డిఫికల్టీ మొబైల్ ఫోన్లో తెలుగు స్క్రిప్ట్లో నమస్కారము, థ్యాంక్ యూ, అది అట్లాంటివి నేర్చాను. బట్ నేను తెలుగులో మాట్లాడడం కూడా ఇలాంటి ఏరియాస్లో ఐ హెజిటేట్, బికాస్ ఐఎమ్ అవుట్ ఆఫ్ టచ్ విత్ ద లాంగ్వేజ్ ఫర్ ద లాస్ట్ 50 odd years. ఢిల్లీకి పోయిన తర్వాత ఐ రీడ్ ఇంగ్లీష్ పేపర్స్, తెలుగు పత్రికలు ఎక్కువ ఐ డోంట్ హ్యావ్ ద టైమ్, బికాస్ మై ఏరియా ఆఫ్ specialized in international affairs. So I would spend time reading the New York Times or BBC or online or something. So Telugu రాజకీయాల అనుభవం ఎక్కువ లేదు, ఎక్స్పోజర్ ఎక్కువ లేదు. తర్వాత ఐ డోంట్ కవర్ ఆన్ డే టు డే బేసిక్ పాలిటిక్స్, కాబట్టి ఈ ఎంపీస్ కానీ తెలుగు మంత్రులు కానీ ఎవరికి తెలీదు. వెంకయ్య నాయుడు మాత్రం కొంచెం కాస్త పరిచయం ఉండే, ఎందుకంటే వెన్ హీ వాజ్ ఎన్ ఎమ్మెల్యే హియర్, వెన్ ఎన్టీఆర్ వాజ్ టాపుల్డ్, అసెంబ్లీలో నినాదాలు వేస్తుంటే అట్లా అప్పటి నుంచి జ్ఞాపకం ఉంది అంతనే. కానీ వెన్ హీ వాజ్ మినిస్టర్, వైస్ ప్రెసిడెంట్గా అప్పుడప్పుడు ఆయన విందులు ఇస్తుంటారు, అప్పుడు ఐ గో అండ్ అటెండ్ దెమ్ ఇఫ్ ఐఎమ్ ఇన్వైటెడ్, బట్ ఐ కీప్ మై డిస్టెన్స్ అండ్ ఐఎమ్ హ్యాపీ. ఐ కాంట్ సే ఐఎమ్ ప్రౌడ్, బట్ ఐఎమ్ హ్యాపీ దట్ ఐ కెన్ సే దట్ ఐ do not have any intimate relationship with any politician, not just Telugu fellows, but anybody. I keep my distance. If I think I need to go and meet somebody, I meet him for professional reasons. తర్వాత people cultivate that relationship, go and get some favors done. I said I don't need any favors. I'm happy with my modest way of life, my style. అంతనే దూరంగా ఉంటాను, హాయిగా ఉంటాను, గొడవలు ఏమి ఉండవు. అయ్యా దాన్ని గురించి I don't want to say anything because somebody might write a story about it. I don't want to take sides. Good luck to the people of Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. Let them choose who they want. I cannot dispute that, Andy. The state of journalism in Andhra Gani, Telangana today, or in India as a whole, is not a happy state of affairs. The political parties have their own TV channels. You have JR TV or Karunanidhi TV. Telangana lo kudanu, I think the ruling party has its own newspaper, TV channel, adi, and every day the owner's paper, whether it is the chief minister or whoever, his newspaper, his picture must come on the front page. That it has been reduced to the same state like in the Gulf states. Any Dubai newspaper will have the Sheikh's picture on the front page. Today his temperature is 43 degrees Atlantic, and for some stupid excuse they put the picture. It has been reduced to that kind of state. This is absolutely ridiculous. But I do hope that it will not last very long. Once the person whose praises are being sung at this moment because he is in power, tomorrow the fellow loses his power, that paper will shut down or it has to, change its policy or something. Let us hope better sense will prevail and journalists will regain their glory sooner than later. Thank you.